Then we click that away. Okay, we are live. That's great. Put speaker view. And then we hit record. Excellent. Okay, so and then we just double check, just do a quick double check here that we are live, which I'm sure we are, but I always just like to double check. And then plus we can see, yeah, we are. Okay, we're good. Well, welcome. This is so much fun because I actually have somebody in studio with me, you know, Melanie's little TV world. Welcome to my world. Chris Smith, I'm so excited to have you on the show. For our listeners that are not watching us right now, I'm very, very excited to welcome this person. Chris Smith is somebody I was introduced to from Tamara Morris, who's a KW agent with us here in Austin. And, you know, if you know Tamara, she's a bundle of energy, right? And she's like, you got to meet this guy. Well, fast forward, we've been in business together since February of this year. And I'm so excited to welcome the amazing Chris Smith to the show today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, glad to be here.
You know, you're an awesome guy.
Really?
Yeah, you are. You're a great guy. And I want to inspire people. You know, I like to share amazing stories about people. And so I want to share your story. So let's back up a little bit. You're in real estate.
I am.
Amongst many things, because you're an entrepreneur. Yeah, exactly. Some days more than others, right? No, literally, you're one of those people that I introduced Gary Keller to that was like, I like that guy. That guy's amazing. So
it's cool. I like Gary as well.
Yeah, we were at a class, right? And I was like, hey, is there any way you can meet with this guy really quickly? And you went up there and I got an email right away about, yeah.
That was one of the highlights actually of this year. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, to get a one-on-one in Gary's office there, right?
He has so many insights.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, he really is.
So tell us about who's Chris Smith for our listeners today, or because we've got watchers watching with us live, and then we'll have people that will listen later on the podcast. Tell us who's Chris Smith. Tell us your little, you know, I know you're Canadian, like tell your story a little bit.
All right. Yeah. So I am Canadian.
Okay.
I don't say the word A because that was beaten out of me when I was a child. But Canadian A, yep.
How's it going, eh?
Yeah, how's it going, eh?
I love Canadians, by the way. I love Canadians.
Born and raised, and I went to school in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
I have a master's degree in computer science.
Mm-hmm. And so that's an area where you spoke French and English, right?
Correct.
Which I love. So I love that they grew up bilingual in that area.
Interesting story is we had French immersion that just came into play, and I'm an old dude, so French immersion had just come to Canada. So my parents are both teachers.
Okay.
And they decided that they wanted us to have the benefit of being able to speak many languages. So
yeah, that's what a gift.
Yeah, and that's what my mom always said too. It's the
what
best
a
gift
gift
you can give your children. So,
yeah.
So I went into immersion. I'm a twin, an identical twin. And so the two of us were put back a year because we had already started grade 1 English.
Okay.
But the immersion program came in 1 year later. So we went back to immersion. So we made it through 12 years of French immersion, which just basically means in Canada where half of your courses and core courses are actually in French and the other half are in English. So you have to learn both the concepts of math and that sort of thing, but then also
amazing. That's incredible. Wow, yeah, what a gift. That's so cool that you were able to, you know, you and your brother were able to start and do that full program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
that's incredible.
It was great, but at the end of the day, really, it was not even conversational French that we came out with. So couldn't really speak, but we understood absolutely everything. And so I met my wife, who is French Canadian.
Yeah.
And she couldn't speak English.
Oh, how funny.
And I struggled with broken French. So there was a lot of pointing.
I understand this.
Yeah. So now we're both bilingual. We
okay.
Both live here in the US. So.
Oh, that's funny. So even though you learned the theoretical and all that stuff, it wasn't like the conversation. You spoke mostly English in the class, or
it was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be French, but it was mostly English. Okay, gotcha. That's interesting.
Yeah. So great program, and I thank goodness for actually being able to go through that, because I wouldn't be with my family today.
Exactly, and you were ready for your wife, like because at least you had all the behind the scenes stuff. Right. That's very cool.
So I had to get myself into trouble a few times with saying words that mean the same thing.
Right.
Really set you off in the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, what?
Yeah. Now I understand this. As you know, I have bilingual children that have been raised German and English. I understand this predicament.
So I moved from the US and or from Canada and moved to the US. I was found by a headhunter right out of school.
Right out of school?
Right out of school.
Okay.
And then I went and programmed for General Electric.
Okay.
In Schenectady, New York. So we were working on applications that were talking to turbines while the helicopters were flying in the air, type of thing.
Oh, wow.
Getting all the data from that. So
yeah,
it was fun. And then I had a long career in IT.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I became an executive for software companies and that sort of thing over the years, and decided, I guess, in 2012 that I wanted to go take a real estate course with my wife and my daughter, who decided that they wanted to get their licenses. So
Okay.
where my wife had a little bit of a struggle with some of the language, she was like, would you mind coming nights and weekends with me and we can kind of do it together? So
Right. Did you speak French at home really together?
we always
That
speak
was
French.
so French is your home language because you always have kind of a family
That's
language.
right.
Yeah.
We did that for our children too.
Yeah,
Make
of
sure they
course.
could
That's
speak.
wonderful, especially growing up in the States.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What a gift.
So we went, and my whole point was actually to go to this real estate course to try and find out what realtors needed and develop some software. I had no intention of actually becoming a real estate agent at all. And it was really to kind of support my daughter and my wife. So
Right.
we're both still in real estate right now.
So okay, so you kind of underplayed your software experience. So let's talk about that a little bit, because a zebra never changes its stripes, right? Because now you have a team and you joined Keller Williams this last year, and so last year you did 30 million, and I mean and mostly all him, really all you. But now you're growing a team and you're kind of mentoring people, bringing people along. But you have a lot of things that you do. So in the software space, though, tell us more about that. Didn't you like help companies? Like there were some significant things you did.
Right. So basically I developed different departments.
Yeah.
So every time there was a department that was either new or deficient, then I would go in and actually put the processes around those departments. So
Okay.
I started with a professional services group, and then I went to an operations group, and then I built an operations team from the bottom up type of thing. It's probably getting into too much information here, but at the end of the day, the operations team was brand new. We were going from a legacy system where it was all on premise to a cloud system where everything was in the cloud.
Right.
So it was a big change for the company. So
yeah.
I drove all those processes.
Okay. So processes, systems, you're one of those people that are in
Canadian processes.
Processes.
Yeah.
Eh? And the funny thing is so engineers are not usually my favorite people, but you're one of my favorite people. So you're an anomaly for me, because you're not like, I can't believe that you have that engineer mind. And that's why you're fascinating to me, because yeah, you're so likable. No offense to my engineer friends out in the world, but you're that's what I think makes you really
that my head's red.
Blushing. So no, but really, I think that's a unique gift that you had. And that's why I wanted the listeners to hear some of your background, because you're more really of a process systems guy.
I am.
And everything you do, you focus on, you make the system better, you fix something, you put it together, and you kind of do that. Well, you don't kind of do that. You do that in real estate too. So when did you got the license in 2012, but you didn't really jump in right away? I
did actually.
Or did you full time though? But you were dual, weren't you?
I was dual.
Yeah. But not full time.
I retired from IT about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So I was consulting for a year. So I retired 4 years ago and then consulted for a year.
Okay.
Really this full time,
What made you go full time to real estate?
Needed the change. I had my companies that I was with that either got bought out or purchased or
in that space, a lot of
sort of things. So I had some equity that I wanted to invest in myself.
Yeah.
Wanted to become an entrepreneur, and just needed a change of scenery. And I thought that I had a lot to offer to the real estate world, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, the systems that are in place right now and technology is pretty minute and non-existent. So, my team, I'm trying to build some systems right now for my team that I actually kind of showed you a little bit.
Yeah,
we're still in
amazing.
the initial phases of it.
Right.
But we're trying to build some things that'll kind of help our agents really kind of, excel and get to the next level.
Data is such a big thing nowadays, right? Like data and finding out information and getting the right data. And I think there's a lot of companies out there that mean well, but are not really doing much in that space. And I think what I love about your mind is you come in and you solve a problem that's out there, like for your people, right? So you're like, how do we take the data and make it work on our behalf?
And make it easier.
And make it easier and streamline the process, right? So, okay. So about 4 years ago, you went to a consulting position. 3 years, you went all into real estate. How does that feel for you to be like because you have other businesses too. So you don't just do real estate, right? But you've been an entrepreneur before that. So I don't want to underplay that, because you were already an entrepreneur before you went full-time real estate, weren't you?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
No.
So real estate was the full.
I was IT fully, and then I did nights and weekends on real estate. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the whole reason for really taking the leave and, taking my taking my leave was to develop the like software and systems and that sort of thing to
Okay.
excel my entrepreneur.
Yeah. Where you're the owner of your business, right?
And yeah.
And I think that's another thing too, is we're in worlds, and this is never to disparage, but when you're an employee or whatever, right, you always are at the mercy of a buyout or something, right? And so this really allowed you to do that. Well, when did the spa come into play? Because you also own a spa and you have you do flips and stuff like that. Like, when did that come into play?
Yeah. So that my daughter is an esthetician, and she did gotten her license, and she went to work for a company that I won't name here, but she signed a contract that basically said that she wasn't able to work for any industry out there that was doing the same competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually got a cease and desist from a lawyer. So,
oh wow.
The little spa that she was working at, they got the cease and desist, and it was, within 3 miles of their location. But the problem is this is a big company, so every location was within 3 miles. So there was nowhere for her to work at all in any of Austin.
Oh wow.
So I just said, hey baby, why are we even worrying about this? Let's go open up our own spa. You're so spectacular at this stuff. And she's very passionate about kind of skin and everything that goes
and good
along
at
with
it. Yeah.
Very good.
And good at it. Talented.
And so, I just said, let's open up the spa and do this thing for ourselves type of thing. And the investment was tiny. So I just said,
so that was your workaround between a non-compete where your daughter was kind of locked in from actually doing what she loves. So and that was the workaround, because you could open your own company.
Mm-hmm. And my goal is to
that solution.
Grow this business so big that I'm going to take the location and put it beside every single one of theirs, because we're past the non-compete right now.
Okay, yeah.
We'll give incentives for anybody who's
well while we're talking about it, and if you're in Austin, Texas, I believe the spa is in Georgetown.
It is.
And I heard it's awesome. So you want to say the name?
Luminescence by Jules.
Okay, awesome.
Luminescencebyjules.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, so for you ladies and gentlemen out there that like to, take care of yourself, something to check out.
I use the spa a lot for real estate too. So like whenever we have like a stressful thing going on with our clients, I'll send them there for a spa day. I also use it for open houses. So if they
can I tell you when my birthday is?
You're welcome to go anytime. I'll comp you a facial.
Oh man, I think I need a facial. You know the year I've had, right?
Yeah.
I do need to check it out.
Well, and right now we're doing like a Halloween like pumpkin something.
Oh, fun. Yeah, fun. But I love that. And I just want to share the story because we talk about that in expansion too, Chris. We talk about like sometimes, it's real natural when you expand your team to go like in Austin, we're a big city. Austin's a pretty big city. I know people say we're not a big city. We've gotten to be a big city. It's a huge city, right? And there's so much growth here. So when teams start expanding, you see a lot of teams like the Moats team and Heil and stuff. They've done a great job expanding within the city before they go to other markets, right? But the other markets you go to is usually because of a person or an opportunity, right? So if it's not the next city, like for Austin, a natural expansion town would be San Antonio or Houston or something close by, but you'll see these people go to Denver or whatever. And you're like, why did you jump so far? And it was because of the person.
Absolutely.
And that's how I look about the spa opportunity with your daughter.
I love that you saw that. Absolutely. Because every business I have right now is because of the people.
Absolutely.
And and I'll say right now, every business that I have besides my daughter, obviously she didn't come from real estate, but every other opportunity that I've had to open a business has come from real estate and some sort of acquaintance that I've made through the business or some sort of client.
It's amazing. That's amazing. And you also do flips. Let's talk about that a little bit, that side of the business. So were you already doing that like since 2012, or were you doing that before you got your license? Did that come after? Is that a more recent thing?
No, it's not recent, but it was within the first 2 years of getting my license.
Was that kind of the initial, what initially made you get your license besides your wife and your daughter were getting into it? What did you want to get out of it originally?
I didn't even want to do real estate.
You didn't want to do it. It was more like, okay.
It was to basically find what the next software system needed to be developed for a different industry.
Yeah.
So I figured if I wasn't actually in it and doing it for a little while, then I wouldn't know. But my favorite story is my very best client, and I have to go to her house right after this to go pick up some eggs because she has chickens in Florida.
Oh, I love that.
We bought a development from her as well. So it's my big development that we're working on right now. She's bought about 10 properties with me, and it was on my very first open house with the builder. I was picking up my signs. It was past 5 o'clock and it was time to go home. And she and her husband drove up and said, "Hey, I see you're picking up your signs." And by the way, the open house had nobody come through all day long. Like there was nobody there. So
No traffic.
yeah, no, not that that makes a difference because I would have gone back anyway. But she's like, "I see you picking up your signs." And I said, "But for you, I will go back, no problem." So I put all my signs in the car. We went back and took a look at the home. Inevitably, she didn't purchase that one, but we became, great friends, and she's a great client of mine. And so that was my very first day on the job, very first client, very first open house.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? I love that story. And I have a lot of stories out there, like people that did 52 open houses with no leads, right? So that really gave you a test. But I have to say though, Chris, the way, us working together, I watch you. I study people, right? I study people, and it may sound weird, but I listen, I watch their language, I watch the way they speak, because my goal is always to help people bring out the best in themselves, right? Sure. And so I'm always learning from people around me. Oh, well, thank you. But like, I just want to give an example. So Chris is somebody, like he said, okay, nobody came at the open house his first day. And then this lady came in, she didn't buy that house, but you know what? Now she's turned into this amazing client. So when you came on to Keller Williams, we have something called opportunity desk or lead desk, right? And you're like, well, before I have anybody on my team take advantage of it, I want to see if it works. And so you sat up front with your headphone on, and I laugh, you got your big headset and everything. And I'm walking, and I'm like, oh, there's Chris Smith at the front desk. This is great. And you come in and you're like, oh, that was amazing. And I said, what happened? You said, well, it was like an $800,000 buyer and 2 other leads or something.
Converted a lease into
a buyer. And then there were 2 other people you talked to or something. And I was like, okay, so, and every time you did it, you had something like that. And it's like, okay, so what makes Chris Smith different than everybody else that does it? And I have other great people I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the way we speak to people, the questions we ask, the way we make people think totally drives the outcome of that conversation. So how do you think you got so good at, because you're like a really high converter of people that talk to you, want to do business with you?
It's one thought. I'm not salesy. I'm not there for the sale. I don't need the sale. I don't, so, if they want to do business with me, they do. If they don't, then they don't.
Right.
So I'm not going to push somebody to actually do business with me if they're not willing to, but I truly care about where they are financially and kind of how we can help them in their financial situations. And I think I look at things just a little bit differently than most in the market, because it's so data driven. Yeah. And, I have a long history. I mean, every company that I basically worked for was a data centric, large data company. Right. And for different purposes, but everything was stemmed from data. So the way that we actually looked at data and transformed it and basically, found all the little, hidden value in it is part of my advantage, my forte. Because you really, it's even when the market started shifting and you were like, you weren't feeling that like other people were, because you were so quickly into being able to have the conversation of what's happening. Like you were already having those conversations before other people were, because the data was telling you certain things. And I want to touch on what you just said is you're not doing real estate really. I mean, you love money, nothing wrong with money, right? But you're not doing real estate because you have to. You do it because you want to. Love it. Because you love it. Because I love it. And you're not. And I think that's the difference. I think that's a big difference. I think so too. I love this. And I want to have a conversation with everybody in the world that wants to listen and talk to me. And whether you are leasing a property or you're buying that $25 million commercial property, right? I want to make sure that whatever you're deciding to do is backed by the right information. Yeah. And unless we get into like the actual financials and stuff of somebody's situation, you're probably not going to get there. So trying to get to that point is basically the goal. And obviously you're not going to get that at the lead desk, but having those follow-on calls and kind of follow-on meetings and appointments is where that happens. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So one question I ask all my guests, and I always love to hear the direction they go on this, but what does playing to win look like for you? Playing to win. Playing to win for me is really just servicing our customers in a way that they've never been serviced before, giving them information and really kind of allowing them to come to their own conclusions based on the information that you're getting from them and giving to them. Yeah. Setting up systems so that everything is completely efficient and so that the one thing that I'm working on right now, and my team will tell you the same thing, is that when we onboard somebody and they come in, we want them to have all the tools at their fingertips so that it's very, very easy, and the conversation is easy, and it's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So I love all the scripts that we have at Keller Williams, and we're kind of trying to make some of those things our own. But using those scripts and making it your own, but delivering it in a way that you actually really believe what you're talking about is what we're working on the team.
I love that.
So playing to win for me is really, if I'm not a sales guy, I've never been a sales guy.
You're really not.
So there's no way I'm going to get in here and do anything salesy. So I have to believe in what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And so, and I do very, very well with certain types of personalities, right? So that's the other thing that I've really learned, right? Is, I'm really good with the high D's, the high E's, and even, or high I's, and even the C's.
Yeah.
So because they're very data centric.
Right.
And so
right.
when I'm talking with somebody and they're not data centric and they don't want to be hearing about it, then I have to shift a little bit to something different.
Right.
But the playing to win for me is really kind of really getting those relationships with our customers, really giving them outstanding customer service that they've never had before or never seen before,
right,
in a way that's different than what else is out there. The other thing is, for the vision of my company, we're really trying to, as kind of build out different aspects of the company so that we have everything in-house.
Right.
So I call it the chokehold.
Okay.
Strategy, and basically it means that
I think of wrestling.
if anything in a deal, if it's mortgage, if it's insurance, if it's title, that I have somebody I can choke to basically get done. And if I own that company, then I can
have influence on you have influence on getting, if something's fallen apart or whatever, you have you're just not a number to that person. You have influence that you can make a difference to get the deal done or solve a problem.
And as from the flipping side, I have crews that are on staff.
Right.
I have roofing companies and stuff that I own, and I have different things like that. So I can offer a full service suite of things and companies and products and that sort of thing to companies or to customers that
that a lot of people can't, and that's
not even that a lot of people can't. It's
just
really
don't focus on it.
Just that we can.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's
or just don't.
That's the biggest comment I get from most of our customers is, I've never worked with somebody where you have everything. Like literally, I don't have to go find my own plumber, my own electrician. I don't have to figure out who's going to do my roof. I don't have to find out who's going to do insurance. I don't have to worry about am I getting the right deal for a mortgage, because I trust you. So if you own the company that's actually doing these things, then I trust that you're the one that's going to be able to deliver for me.
Right.
And I do. So and I put my money where my mouth is too. So if anything comes up and there's something that happens, I'll always make it right. So that's because
you have high integrity, right? And I think somebody like you that has high integrity, that makes perfect sense for it, and I wish everybody was like that out there.
And I also think that you need to be in a financial situation where you can do that too.
Definitely.
So if you just start opening up all these businesses and that sort of thing, and you can't back it up, and there's something that goes wrong, then you're not giving the service to your customers.
No.
So it's a gradual thing. It hasn't happened overnight either.
Right. Exactly. Can you believe though that like here we are, you got licensed in 2012, but really 3 years ago you jumped full in, and now today what you're building, like everything you're building, we talk about when you're building your future, right? You could build a 2-lane highway, or you could build a 10-lane highway for depending on where you want to go, right? And Gary has said that, and I've heard multiple of my mega agents I work with say that. And to me, you're like that 10-lane highway person, but you're doing it all very strategically and purposefully. And what I love about it is because that's what Keller Williams has done with all of our ancillary things, is everything we've done, like our mortgage or whatever, it's been on behalf of our people to win.
That's right.
It's been about the consumer winning. And I think it's not about greed. It's about serving. And it's about, you do these so that you can serve the customer at a higher level. And I think that is a huge differentiator. It's not and I think that most people and I shouldn't say most people, some people, probably the minority of people, just don't do it for the right reason. They see dollar signs, but you're really, I knowing you're doing things because you want the consumer experience to be
and
better.
Not only consumers either. So my team is very important to me. So like we're trying to build a team, a family team, and that sort of thing, where everybody just helps out, everybody works together, and that sort of thing. And it's it's getting the right chemistry on the team that is 100% most important to me. But we're also profit sharing on everything. So like as an example, if let's say my agents bring in 100% of the title work for this month, and I didn't bring a single deal,
Okay.
then the amount that we're making this quarter for that particular company is going to go 100% shared amongst the agents. So
That's amazing.
I'll take a loss on that month for the title, because I'm trying to also build. I see a shift happening in the market right now around commissions. And if you look at, California, they're at 1.5% once we get up to the $1 million range.
Yep.
That's going to happen here too. I can see it coming. So supplementing and making sure that my agents are supplemented and helped is basically what I'm after too. So the whole family thing, and trying to build a business where everybody kind of thrives and does really well is also
I love that.
the top of my list.
I love that so much, because as a team leader in my role, it's like I'm doing what you're doing in your team, right? It's like we're similar minds in what we want for our people, right? We always want the best for our people.
Absolutely.
And so I was in a regional event, and Gary was talking about systems, systems. And we were saying about how it's essential, right? And you being a systems person, that's why I really wanted you on the show for people to hear this. Like, systems matter. And there's a lot of what we do on the real estate side that's personality driven, and jazz hands and all that stuff. And I'm one of those guilty of it, because I put a lot on my personality and my energy, but yet through my 15 years on this journey, I've really gotten skilled on systems and things that really matter. And so what Gary was saying is that lead generation is important, not just because it's that consistent communication with your people and taking care of your clients, but it's also catching them at the right time when they're ready.
You're right. Well, and honestly, there's another side to that too. You're catching people maybe when they're not ready, but you're educating them and getting them to a point where they really understand kind of what they need to do and kind of what is in their best interest.
Right.
And they can make a decision on when they're ready and when they're not. Right?
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
The way I look at it. So and along the systems lines, I can't tell you that. I mean, it takes a long time to get systems in place, right?
Yeah.
But any system is better than no system at all. So I have systems in place right now that I'm not super happy with. There's a lot of big things that I want to do with it. We have to do a lot more videos. We got to do, a lot more things to kind of interact with our customers.
Yeah.
But even just the text-based, stuff that's in, certain portions of our customers is something that is better to have something than nothing at all.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I've had success with, and maybe I didn't convert 80% of the customers with this particular strategy or action plan, but at the end of the day I converted 20%, right? But that's 20% I wouldn't have had if I didn't actually have
the system in place
and have it running.
Exactly.
So one of the big things that we're working on as an initiative here over the next couple of months is really kind of our customer success lifecycle planning.
Ooh, I like that.
For each customer, they're basically going to be categorized into, your investors, your buyers, your sellers, and that sort of thing. And then setting up for each one of those, it's going to be kind of their life cycle and what they look like. So, depending on kind of where they're at in their sale process or in their buying process and that sort of thing, and kind of determining what kind of communications need to happen with them at that time. So it'll be a just in time type of thing. So it's going to take a while to kind of get all the data.
Sure, right. It's all at, right. But so worthy
putting together
of it.
That structure.
Yeah, so worthy of it. I love that, Chris. And also, it's also knowing your audience, knowing where they're at, knowing how to measure, and then giving them the solution to what they need, right? It's not, just some people that, like you said, doing something's better than doing nothing. Like if you're doing something great, keep it up, right? But if you want to get to mastery level, then know who you're talking to, know your audience, know the systems, give them the data they want to hear, ask the questions that makes them think about that next opportunity for them, right? And so I think part of our jobs as facilitators of people's wealth, that's what we do in real estate, is helping people think differently. Right. And so you need your systems in place to help. The more you fine tune that, the better you're going to reach more kinds of people. So I love that you're really systems focused. And yet the other thing I think for systems, if you're a systems person and you're listening to this, the other thing you have to be careful of, which I think you have a gift for, is sometimes if you're getting ready to get ready and you're worried about perfection, then you don't get into action. And that's why like you said, because I have a lot of agents, I came to every class, I did this and that. And I'm like, well, how many people did you talk to? Well, I didn't talk to anybody. Okay, well, that's a problem because you have to talk to people to, be able to have an opportunity, because
Exactly.
leads is the foundation of the leads, listings and
Exactly right.
leverage. And without the leads, you have nothing. So doing something is better than nothing, but the fine tuning. But you're not somebody that let that hold you back. So have you just always been like that you're just an action guy, or because you're very, like I
Well,
said, you have the
it's
detail?
training too. It's training.
Okay.
So on the IT side of things, there's methodologies that are out there that are that basically say that you need to be iterative. And so, like when we're releasing software, as an example, you'll release a little piece, it'll get really tested, people start using it, but then you're adding on as it goes along.
Okay.
That's better than trying to get all the requirements for an entire system and then try and implement it all and then deliver it all at once, because then you're going to get something that nobody's going to use. So
Right.
really it's the iterative approach where you kind of, basically take a small piece that you get somewhat right, and then kind of test it out, figure it out, A/B test your messages, really figure out who's opening the emails, who's responding to a text message, tweak those little things and that sort of thing, and then move.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so another question I have for you is, as the market has adapted here in Austin, and it's funny how it's kind of everywhere. It's just like how it blew up. I couldn't believe how many markets it blew up in. So we're talking to our real estate people right now. But in anything we're talking about, this can help you in any business, because really real estate, it can be transferable if you're in insurance or you're anything in sales, right? Or any business that you run. What do you think is going to be really important for people to really end up, we always talk about when markets shift and things change, he who gains the market share during that time period and then the market adjusts again, has massive success. And those that lose the market share never gain it back. And so you're going to see, we're talking about 10% of all of NAR, at least 10 to 30% of people will get out of the business.
At least.
Yeah. And it could be way more. And we're talking, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I look at just 10% from our office. That's 50 people. You to 20%, that's 100 people, right?
Yeah.
And
I don't have the data to back it up, but you can tell me if I'm wrong. But it seems like there's a lot more agents out there between when COVID hit and like when the market really, then we've ever seen before.
Oh yeah, because they had this idea like,
so
I'll do real estate.
Doesn't apply anymore.
Oh yeah.
Because, all of those individuals who got in and don't have systems and we're just waiting for the fall out of the sky. Those customers, are more savvy now, and they can't just jump on everything and anything.
Exactly.
And price it all. So we're now back into, we have to do our jobs. And
that's
we have work to do here. So
And,
I think the biggest thing is for people to really know the market, right? You have to know your local market. You have to know your national market.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm talking to economists and stuff on a regular basis to even get international information, because it all plays. Right?
It does. It does.
So, yeah. And
so just knowing the market, I think so. And that's funny. That's Gary says the same exact thing, right? Is you have to be he's always said you have to be the local economist of choice, but right now it matters more than ever.
Absolutely.
Because there's insecurity in the world with interest rates and inflation and people's money, how much is my money going to be worth and things like that, right? So you have to, and I think that's going to serve you very well, because of, if you're watching, you can see, but you can also hear in his voice, if you're just listening on the podcast, you have a very calm presence about yourself and confident, calm and confidence.
The confidence actually comes from knowing what you're talking about and believing what you're talking about. Right? So I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not here to tell you all kinds of stuff that isn't true so that you actually, move forward.
Right.
The stuff I'm actually giving you is information that I've taken from experts, economists and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking it from my own readings and that sort of thing and put it together in a way that, I hope people can understand, at the level they can understand it.
Yeah. So when this kind of market happens, does Chris Smith get excited or do you get nervous?
What I love about real estate is there's not really any market that you're going to get excited about or not. I mean, really the market shifts and there's a different person you're looking for, and they're the economy, right?
Right.
So, there's never a point, and that's what I love about real estate. Like literally, if if homes are leasing right now and they're leasing like crazy, it's because the home prices have gone up and people. So the
Yeah.
other thing is that we have right now, there's so much equity in homes that we're actually talking to our customers about keeping their home. Don't sell your home, keep your home, but you need to move from here to go to somewhere else. Let's do that. Let's leverage the equity that's in your home.
Yeah.
And I have models and stuff that I show them on a daily basis here. I'm heading to an appointment tomorrow night where I'm going to show them how to keep their home, leverage the property, and go buy the home of their
Keep it as a
dreams.
rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going to be making, and it's life planning for them, right? So we're going to give them financial freedoms and that sort of thing that they can enjoy. And it's super easy to do in this market because everybody's equity is way higher than they would have ever
Oh my
expected.
gosh, exactly.
Ever expected. And that's the first thing I say to them. Hey, listen, you have so much equity in your property. I bet you never expected to have a $600,000 house when you bought it for $2.
Exactly.
Right? So now
Exactly.
you have $400,000 plus all the stuff you just paid. So you probably have $500,000 in equity in your home. So let's use 200,000 of it and leverage it and go get another
and go get another property and live
payment.
Right.
And guess what? Here's what it looks like when you lease it, and here's how much money you're going to be making, even if you get that leverage from the property. So there's not going to be a market where I'm going to be like super excited, like, oh my goodness, like this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Right.
The last 2 years have been super hectic, and it's it was great from a financial perspective, but oh my goodness,
but also exhausting.
Well, and exhausting for our clients too.
Especially for the clients. Yeah.
So
the fear or the frustration of all these opportunities they didn't get, and these offers they're writing it, right? So they really created a lot of buyer fatigue in our market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how many times did I go to a buyer during that time frame and say, look, it's not time for you to buy this home, but there's one over here that looks a little bit better, that's going to be more financially secure for you. The offers on this one's way too high at this point. So give them like the whole picture and they'll be fine. But honestly, like I said, I don't think there's a market where I would be like super excited. Let's do this. It's really
or super fearful though. Because let's say both. You're not maybe super excited, but you're also not like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. I don't hear any fear in your language if any conversations we have.
No, and we shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, literally, like I said, I mean, I'm expecting to see 25 and 30% increases in leases. So let's use that angle, right?
Right.
Let's get our people, 25 or 30% next year on their leases on homes that they own right now while we're leveraging the next property.
Yeah, and could become a cash flow opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
If the numbers work, absolutely.
But what I'm hearing you say is that you're saying you're looking out for what's the best thing for my client, right? It's not what's the best thing for Chris Smith in this moment, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, here's an example. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be going to this home. And they wanted to sell their home with us and that sort of thing. And, I started to dig into their finances and that sort of thing. And they basically told me they have a $1,400 mortgage all in.
Oh, wow.
$1,400, and they can lease this property for $2,300. So they have $900 a month that they can invest in something else. But their goal and their dream is to actually get out to the farm that's their parents. So I was like, okay, well, why don't you leverage this property, fix up the farm, and then live at the farm? So I just lost 2 sales. Basically, they're not going to get a buyer and a seller, but I get to lease the property for the next kind of 10 years. But I can guarantee you those people are going to be referring me and coming back to me for
exactly.
And that's what's important to me. It's not the actual sales.
Yeah.
So that's
it's a long time. You're looking for the long time relationship. And I love that you say that, because we say, and for the people that may get out of the business right now, that just got in the business and are like, oh, this is too hard. Well, it is what it is, right? And maybe this is not for you, but you have to think about it as not a 1 year, but a career. Right. And you're looking for long-term relationships with your customers. And so the fact, even if you didn't get 2 sales out of it, if you help those people find financial freedom and make great financial decisions, you will have so many referrals. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly.
They're already coming in.
It's just that law of reciprocity. You can't help it, right? When you help enough people get what they want, you can't help but get what you want.
I have a client who has never purchased with me, ever. And I've had 10 sales from it.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that awesome? I love that so much. I love that so much. Okay. So I'd love to ask you the question, because when you and I met and we go to PF Chang's, that was so fun, that first meeting, and it's you and Tamara and me, and we're sitting there and I can't eat any of the stuff you guys are having. I'm like, this guy must think I'm such a dud, and then, but we all hit it off. We had such a great synergy. And at the time, really, you were not kind of not open at all for any move, but we're just kind of getting to know each other. And we had to, over months
Actually,
and
I
months.
decided to go somewhere else.
You were,
Yeah,
exactly.
you changed my mind.
Exactly. And you were going to go somewhere else. And then we pivoted. But I'd love to know why you chose Keller Williams, just for the people listening today, because you're a $30 million producer. You're at a flat fee kind of place, right? I mean, it was a lower, and yet you made the move to Keller Williams. I just love to hear I'd love our listeners to hear
It was
that.
people. Melanie Kennemann.
Oh,
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh.
So I just felt like the team was I was building a team. At that point, I had 2 people on my team.
Yeah.
And I had to let one go.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was me and one other person. And
Yeah.
I was getting ready with my processes and that sort of thing. And I was ready to kind of build a bigger team.
Yeah.
So, as an executive, I managed, 148 people at a time type of thing. So,
Exactly.
managing a small team is what I wanted to get back into and kind of doing. And I wanted to, and I feel like I'm a teacher. Like I like to.
You are.
Educate
You really
and teach
are.
and that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
wanted to, bring my team on and kind of give them the best world that I could.
Yeah.
And Keller Williams was the right place for it. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the training and stuff that we have here, and just the support for the teams and that sort of thing is unlike any other place that I've had. And then of course, my mindset is incenting my agents, and
Right.
Keller Williams is also incenting agents, with all the commission
Right.
sharing and stuff and,
Yeah.
and whatever. So,
Yeah, definitely. And it's such a great culture that you fit right into, right? Because it's a very entrepreneurial culture. But I love that.
And my meeting with Gary did.
Oh yeah, Gary. I know you're like,
knew it would.
I knew it would. I knew it. It's like, so Gary, I got this guy. He's really special. I never asked Gary for that ever, ever, ever. And it just actually Cody's the reason. Cody Gibson, because you and I went to ESO, and Cody's like, hey, do you have anybody? I'm like, I do actually. Like I wasn't even going to bug Gary, but it was like the perfect opening. And he's like, great. And you walked back in and you sat down. And you said, all right, send me the paperwork.
Yeah.
And it took a little while for that, but I just loved it.
We were kind of going back and forth
Yeah.
for about 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. But you are such a, and like, I love for what I'm really rewarded when I get to work with people like you. Like I meet these really talented people that want a team that are super professional, great people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to meet Chris. Like you fill such a perfect spot for me that I can send great people to.
Oh, I love that.
And so for me, it's like a real collaborative relationship. And that's why I love working with top people.
You have sent me some really quality people. So, I mean,
well, it's exciting.
That also comes along with being with Keller Williams. So.
It's a fun it's very much a shared environment. So I just wanted to share that because a lot of people, say, oh, Keller Williams, yeah, it is definitely the place for new people. But actually, Keller Williams is really the place for people that want to build huge businesses because there's such that leverage piece. And I always see us as a distribution system for really talented people like yourself.
Yeah, what I love about Keller Williams and you and Emmy Cook and like all the gang is there's never no. It's always let's figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? So I have, as you know, I have a lot of different things that are
you do. He's very creative.
And probably things that you haven't seen before, type of thing, or,
right?
Haven't encountered. So just it's been great, and we always kind of figure it out and come to a great compromise that everybody's happy with. And,
I love that.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot more fun that we get to work together. I always think together we're so much better, right? All of us. So okay, so as we wrap up the show, what are some like last thoughts that you would like to leave with the listeners on just this is playing to win. And then the podcast is the second half, which is, you the first half matters, but the second half matters more. And I feel like right now what we're going into is like the second half of the pandemic. I mean, I know we're in masks and we're out in public, but man, people are tired. And now we've got this. So to me, the second half of whatever we're dealing with is now the economic piece of it, right? Because we went through this crazy market. It's been really interesting. People are tired and fatigued and this and that, and they're hearing a lot of information. So whether you're talking to, and I want to talk more to the agents on this question, but what is your advice for them? And I know you said about knowing the numbers, but thoughts to them on how, if they're not winning right now, because I don't think everybody's playing to win. So a lot of it's their activities. I know that for sure, 100%. It's their mindset and how they're showing up, but it's also, they're not seeing the results. And I'm seeing numbers come through here, and it's all the people like you and the big producers are doing just fine. Everybody else, not so much.
Consistency.
So
as an example, I get a lot, hey, I'd like to do an open house and that sort of thing. Nobody came up, nobody came, right? So that's just an example of one of those consistent things that you just keep doing, because at the end of the day, when you're picking up your signs, you may get the best client of your life.
which is an
right?
amazing
But if
story.
you're not out there and you're not doing it and not you're putting yourself out there, then
Yeah.
you're never going to pick up that you know that needle in a haystack.
That's
or, you know,
right.
the unicorn.
That one person.
100%. And it's happened to me so many times in my career, like over the last
Yeah.
12 years. But does it
Yeah.
happen to me every time? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
you have to be out there. If you're not out there and you're not doing the things
Mhm.
consistently that you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
or that you've, and the other thing is planning, right? So if
Mhm.
you've said that I'm going to go and do 52 open houses this year, then every week you should be doing an open house. If you said 26, then do, you know, one every weekend.
Yeah.
Open house is just an example, but you
Right.
know, we talk all the time about the 4 pillars and that sort of thing, sphere being, you know,
Yep.
the number one.
Yeah.
Well, you know, even look at my team and kind of go shake my head and shrug my shoulders, like, you know, we haven't called anybody this week yet for
Right.
a sphere of influence. So we have, but
Right.
you know,
Right. But as an example,
but as an
yeah.
example. So it's if you're consistent and you're doing all the things that you plan to do and you basically execute, then you're gonna be fine at the end of the day. It's execution and staying consistent.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've read Shift, but in Shift, they talk about finding the motivated. They open up with that, right? And that Shift book got us through 2008 when I started, right? And I started leading in end of 2007. So right into this last, you know, downturn, but that was a housing crisis, whereas this is kind of an everybody crisis, right? Because the whole world's being impacted. But it's find the motivated, and you can't find the motivated unless you have systems and you're consistent and you know the messaging and things like that. But it's interesting to see. You're just going to have to talk to more people and you're going to have to be more knowledgeable, but you got to get up every day.
Yeah. And you know, I may be the right person to talk to, I may not be. I've been in the industry since 2012, so I haven't
Yeah.
seen a shift. We've been in an up
Yeah.
market for all this time.
Yeah.
So, but I'm super hopeful, and I haven't seen any shift, to be quite honest. I mean,
Yeah.
when you guys talk shift, I kind of was thinking it was, oh my goodness, our production's going to go down. We're not going to have buyers. We're not going to have
Right.
sellers. Well,
Yeah.
you know, we have plenty of sellers now, and now we're looking for the buyers.
That's
right?
right.
And
Exactly.
so, you know, and the buyers are, I actually predicted it. I told you that, you know, we were going to see this kind of uptick, and
Yeah,
my
you
buyers
did.
are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we have a few more weeks. We're in a normal selling environment now.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It's more balanced.
we're going to see a lull that's going to come up here during
Yeah.
the holidays, which we haven't seen
Yeah.
really in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing that we saw kind of in the mid August to September,
Uh-huh.
was that whole seasonality, right?
Right,
So, you know,
right.
people getting their kids back into school, you're not going to
Right.
have as many buyers. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about a shift, but at the same time, we still have a deficit in the number of homes that we need to build. We still have
Exactly.
a deficit I go to dinner with the VP of HR for Tesla
Mhm.
about once a month, and she was telling me that they have to hire 350 to 400 people a week,
Oh,
and
wow.
that her mandate is 12,000 for this year.
Oh, wow.
So, and they have to hire over the next 3 years like 48,000 people.
Oh my
So if
gosh.
we're adding that many people to the city, then you're basically needing to find housing, and
Yeah.
real estate's going to continue to go up. Now,
Right.
I think we're a little bit more insulated in Austin
Mhm.
than other places in the nation.
Yeah.
So all of the media that you're hearing and all the hype and that sort of thing around everything that's going on, you need to make sure that you're really looking at the local area when it comes to that stuff, and be able to talk about the local area
Yeah.
instead, right? So
Right. Right. Because that
that's what we're
creates
doing.
that's smart, and that creates consumer confidence too when you have the answers to, because there's a lot of fear out there, right? So really what I'm hearing you say is you know, if you're not a numbers person, it's time to become a numbers person, right? If you're
And if you're not, talk to economists.
Yeah.
They'll put it into layman's terms, into
Right.
how things are working. And
Right.
something, then regurgitate some of the stuff that they say.
right. And it's funny when I liked your answer to, are you excited or fearful of the market? And you kind of said, well, neither. It's just the market. It just is what it is.
It's the market.
It's just the market, and I'm not putting a label on it. I love that answer, because it's like, it just is what it is, and I'm going to adapt. And so you haven't been through a shift like I started at a shift. And that's so I always tell people, I think I have a huge advantage because I started in a shift, because I don't fear any market. You're saying it differently. You just came a little bit later than me, in a different area. Like Reno got hit really hard when I was in the business and stuff like that, but I didn't know any better.
Right.
I didn't know any better. So I tell people, right now is your opportunity. Like right now, the new agent has a huge opportunity, because man, when you get that skill set and you understand that, and you can have those conversations, because there's a lot of people are still going to get divorced. They're still going to have babies and need new things. They're going to get job transfers.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, who will serve them? Will it be you?
Everybody needs to do real estate in their life.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Everyone.
And at
Yeah.
least every few years, somebody has to do at least
Yeah.
something in real estate.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, just
Touches
monopolize
everybody.
on it. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And get those relationships with your service providers. If you don't own a roofing company and stuff, get a relationship with a roofing company and really, kind of work with your clients and even just people that like the example that I gave of a person who never ever sold a home with me. Like literally I've given her probably 10 or 12 different service providers over the years because her home needed whatever.
Right.
And so I'm the person that she comes to for anything real estate related. As soon as you have that label as when they think about real estate, when they think about their property, when they think about anything having to do with real estate, when you have that label
and they think about you,
you're a winner.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So go create, for those of you who listen today, go create that. You want to have that mind share, create a plan and create a system. And even if it's not perfect, get into action, guys, because it's time to lean in. And that's the whole find the motivators is you're just going to have more conversations. You're going to have to be top of mind, and just don't worry about perfection. Now, this guy is just a master at systems. And so I feel like you have a huge advantage because you're also getting into action. You're not letting that hold you back, but get into action and really decide that this is what you're going to do. And I think I giggle when I think about when I got licensed, and everywhere I went, somebody had a real estate license. Like the guy selling me the couch, this person there, they all had their real estate license. I remember my ex at the time saying, how are you going to be successful? How do you know you're going to, everywhere we go, somebody has a license? And I said, because it's a decision that I made.
That's right. Yeah.
And just decide, right? Just decide and find the way, because
you have to decide to succeed.
That's right. That's right.
You have to want it.
Yeah. And every day you have a choice. So if one day is not a great day, guess what? The next day, if you're blessed enough to wake up, you have another choice, right?
Well, every day should be a good day, right?
Every day should be a good
I'm
day.
going to be out there talking to everybody I know and, having communication and conversations with anybody who wants to listen. So
yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of people out there that want to listen, let me tell you.
Oh, they do. They do. Especially to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
We have a very, very fear-based market right now, is my opinion. So,
100% agree.
If you can get over the fears and and it's not, I don't like to call it objection handling. I like to just have a conversation and really give them the information that I really believe.
Right.
And the cost of waiting right now is so huge. So having those conversations with them and telling them why it's a good time for you. We're in a situation now where it's the first time, in my opinion, where it's been the right time to buy and the right time to sell. Right.
Yeah.
So there's been no other time in history that I know of, or at least since 2012, let me tell you.
For sure.
Where it's both the right time to buy and sell.
Right. Exactly.
So I explain that and basically show them what the cost of waiting is, and the numbers tell the story and say it all. So yeah.
But it's about you, but you have to believe it first, right? So go out there, believe it. For our real estate listeners today, thank you for watching on the live or watching later on, and we appreciate you, Chris. I'm really proud to be in business with you. Thanks for being part of our team, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys, for watching. And we're out.